Authors Tell All, a podcast by Shy Soul. She's bringing you author interviews, book discussions, and more. Stay tuned.
Daijahs on the beat. Daijahs on the beat. Daijahs on the beat.
Authors Tell All, a podcast by Shy Soul. She's bringing you author interviews, book discussions, and more. Stay tuned.
Daijahs on the beat.
Hello everyone, welcome to Authors Tell All, your host Shy Soul. We have the lovely author of In Need of His Gutter Love. Hi, how you doing?
I am doing pretty good. Thanks for asking.
For everyone to hear, I want you to tell them your lovely author name. I love her name. I absolutely love it.
So my author name is my real name is Daijah Shine. I really couldn't think of an actual pen name, and I always felt like my name was one of those
I love it. And that was actually going to be, you answered my first question. That was actually what I was going to ask you. Like, I want to really know. Yes, I really want to know, like, is that your pen name, like you actually came up with, or is that your real name? That's cute. I love it.
Yep, thank you.
No problem. Now, to get into this lovely book of yours that just came out recently, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, the title. What made you come up with In Need of His Gutta Love?
Gotcha. Okay, so I actually have this friend. We're always brainstorming titles. She's better at it than me. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually gave me this title. So for the longest, I was like, what storyline? Like, it was just one of those titles where you have to find a perfect storyline to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was sitting for probably a month or two. And then I just so happened to come up with the storyline for it. So it's kind of like the story found the title versus me finding the title for the story. If that makes sense.
It does make sense because, let me tell you how many titles I have in a notebook that I don't even have a story for yet. So,
right, exactly.
Life of an author. So, this book, now, the minute I got the book, I couldn't put it down. Let me just say that. One, because from the beginning, the whole description and everything that she wrote from chapter 1 is amazing. Now, let me tell you this. This is not one of the first books I've read by her. I've read some of her other stories, which really gravitated me towards this author long time ago. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Now, I read her stories back on Wattpad. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I sure did. I sure did. I was obsessed with her stories. Her stories are just as real as this story she published now. That's the reason I'm saying this. And for her to go from that platform to this and have such good rankings and such good sellings, that's a success story in itself. So I like to congratulate you about that.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Now, back to this book. Now, your main character, what made you give her that name? That name is very different, for one. And what just made you write her?
Gotcha. So her name, I had a hard time with her name, to be completely honest. At first, her name was something completely different. Like, I can't even remember what it was. But it was really simple. So halfway through the book, I'm like, okay, this is not it. Like, I need something that's going to pop. So typically, I find names, I either get on Google, do the little baby name search, things like that. Or, like, I'll ask friends or family, like, for name suggestions. So this one is just, like, I'm the type of person, like, I like to visualize as a reader, so I kind of want to set the tone as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm scrolling through names, and this one, it's just like, it kind of hit me, and I'm like, okay, so this is the name I want to go with. Now, her character, with me, for her, I kind of wanted to do something different with my female characters. Like, I didn't want to do the daughter of, like, a drug cartel or like a queen pin. I wanted to do somebody that was just a regular person and her own type of woman. Like, I wanted her to have her own definition as a woman, in a sense. And still kind of put her into that urban world. But I wanted her to be different from her previous characters.
Yeah, so basically she's the it girl kind of character.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now,
and even the it girls aren't so perfect. So, yeah.
Exactly. That's what I caught on with the story, too. That's what really made me gravitate towards it, because it was, I said before, it was different. It was different from, like, what you usually write, like you just said. And I was like, ooh, she put out something that is great, but it's different for her. And the way you explored it, the way you wrote it, it just showed that you have great writing skills, period.
Thank you.
No problem. So, who is the male main character? There's always that one. Mm-hmm.
Cassie. his character specifically, for him, I kind of, like, I don't know, like, if you read my previous books, it's kind of like I'm building a maturity level with my male character. So for him, like, I kind of based his character off her role, and I really wanted to take that GUTTA in the title and make him embody it too, but make him be an actual man as well. Because not everybody in the urban fiction world is that ignorant, rude, vulgar type of thug. And so that's kind of what I wanted to present with him, where he's rough around the edges, but he still knows how to treat a woman. And so that's what I wanted him to represent.
Yes, that's what I really liked about it, because you, like what you just said, I was like, okay, I'm liking him already. One, because he's keeping it real, and two, he's not disrespecting her just to get her. I said, I like this.
Right.
I was like, I'm just in love with this story, and I've been recommending the story and everything. Exactly. That's why I was like, she definitely has to come on the show and talk about this great book. Now, next question is, what made you write this story in general? What made you finally come up with this plot?
So with this story, I told myself last year, like, this year I wanted to set a different tone. Like, last year was more so me jumping back in after taking the time to realize what I don't want to do, what I do want to do. So it's kind of like this story, honestly, it surprised me. I'll say that. I didn't expect it to do what it did, but it set the tone in things like I kind of planned for it to do. So like you said, I wanted to do something different because this year in general, I want to kind of bring something different to the table from what I've done before or what's being done in urban fiction. So this story, it was more so about setting the tone, I'll say that. So I wanted to do something that was more relatable and then urban fiction, but kind of not so typical urban fiction.
Yes.
So that was my main goal with that book.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, because in our industry, with the books that we write, you know, we have to deal with not the same storylines, but, you know, kind of like the same concepts with like the covers or the title. But the books can be different, of course, but, you know, we have them same references. So for you to think about that and, you know, like evaluate, like, for this year, I want to do something different, you know, step out of my comfort zone and, you know, give a different read and then accomplish that and then do better than what you thought you would. That's great. I said the same thing to myself too. I said 2019 is our year, basically the Black author's year, to, you know, bring out different stories, and that's exactly what I've been seeing all down my timeline.
Yes, most definitely.
Now, my next question is this a single story or is it going to be a series? Because I know you generally write series too.
Yes. So this story, it is a standalone, but what I'm doing is I have 3 books based in Miami. So this was book 1 of, I don't want to say series because it's not a series. They're like 3 different standalones, but they all come together, if that makes sense.
They all connect in some way.
Right, exactly. So this is a standalone, but it does fall into the next 2 stories I'll be releasing.
I like that. Your readers are going to like that, shoe. If I like it, I know they're going to love it. So, I want to step a little further. Now, with you saying that you want to, you know, do a different route in your stories, will you be stepping out in a different genre, maybe, this year?
Now, that, I would say I'll probably have 1 book that's more so romance than anything. Like, it probably won't have any urban fiction in it. So I'm going to start off with romance. But in the long run, I definitely do want to play with other genres. Like, I like things like murder mysteries, you know, things like that. But for right now, I'm going to start off with romance this year and see how that goes.
Now, when you said murder mysteries, I already know for a fact that story, whatever you come up with, I already know with your writing style, That will... I giving you so much praise because it's true. I already know because I've read so many of your stories. I already know for a fact that a mystery crime story from you is going to be something wild. That's all I can say. That is going to be wild for sure. For sure.
Yeah, that's definitely something I want to play with. And with the, especially with the murder mysteries, like, I'm big on those types of shows. Like, probably since I was younger, like, starting with Scooby-Doo. Like,
yeah, me too.
That's always something that I've been interested in. So I definitely, that's why I say I want to pick up on that, because it's something that I've always liked. So I want to see, like, how I would be able to do with it, you know? Like, actually writing it out.
Very true. Now, what made you write? What made you start writing in the first place?
That was that. Okay. I had to be probably, no, even before then. Okay, so I was in elementary school. I was probably 7 or 8. So I started off, like, writing poems. I would write songs, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that started, like, 7 or 8. Then when I turned about 13, 14, I had this group of friends. We started, like, this little book club. Like, some of my friends would bring different books to school, pass them around. We would read them, and I just so happened to read 3 books that I remember specifically. So it was Fast Life by Cassandra.
Mm-hmm.
It was Damaged by Kia Dupree, and then it was The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. So when I read The Coldest Winter Ever, I'm like, okay, I can do this. Like, this is something about that book just made me want to try it. So I didn't really play with that right away, but it's like I said, I'm a visual reader, and it's like, it was weird because I started having these dreams, like, I'm like, what is this? Like, made up stuff. So I woke up, like, after one night, I woke up the next day, and I just pulled up the Microsoft document, started typing up stuff, and it's like, as I started to play with it, I would let my friends read it, and they would be like, Daijah, this is really good, blah, blah, blah. But you know how friends are. You don't really know if they telling you that, to tell you that. So one of my friends, they're actually a set of twins. They're the ones who told me about Wattpad. So I set up the Wattpad account. At this time, I was probably 14 going on 15, and that's when I started on Wattpad. Mm-hmm. And so when I saw the reaction I was getting, that's when I really went for it.
Very true. Now, we have some similarities there. I was always into reading, loved reading so much. My mom, she had got me this book that I love so much. It wasn't, honestly, it wasn't a book by any urban author. I'm going to say that. She let me read those books when I was like 16. I'm going to just say that right there. But she got me this book called Beautiful Creatures. Now, when I read that, that is a totally different genre from what I even write. And when I read that book, I was like, it has so much different elements to the story. And I was like, I wonder how well I can write a story. I always loved writing. Was always writing poems and everything. Still do. So I got the urge to make an account, but I didn't write anything in a draft or anything like that. I actually just wrote the story in a notebook. And a friend of mine happened to get a hold of my notebook, and she read the story. She was like, what is this? I was like, what is what? And she showed me the notebook, and I was like, oh my God, she got my book writing notebook. And she was just staring at me while we was in the gym room. I was like, what's the matter? She was like, it's so good. And she was like, and I cried. What? You need to put this on Wattpad. Right. And she was like, you need to put this on Wattpad. I was like, what's Wattpad? This is how I found out about it, and this is how I signed up. She was like, you need to put it on there. I was like, what is the app? She was like, I'm putting on your thing, and you just sign up. So after I read some few stories, I was like, okay, maybe I can do it. This was at 15, 16. I published a story, and then it took off. I was thinking like, oh, they're not going to like what I'm writing. This book is just a book of my thoughts and the characters that I came up with. Ain't nobody going to like it. They did like it.
Right.
And I was shocked because I was just writing. That's it. I wasn't like, at that time, I was, kind of plotting it out and stuff, but I really wasn't. I was just writing. That's it. Just straight writing. And they loved it. I was like, okay, maybe I can develop my writing skills on here.
Right.
So, me and you both. Yep, me and you both did that. Now, I can say, readers, I can say this. I will direct you to her Wattpad and her Amazon and her Amazon profile too, because all her stories are amazing. Now, I think we both may have been on at the same time, around the same year, maybe, not too sure. For her account to take off like it did, when I see her account, I was like, oh, I need to do better. That's all I could say was, I need to do better. Like, I need to, brush up on my urban writing. Because, I was just into romance. I was just writing my characters, normal people. I didn't write what Daijah was writing at all. It took a lot out of me to write a story that she can write. And I was like, maybe I should just stick with romance. That's exactly how I felt until people were telling me, well, this story is amazing. Why would you want to get rid of it? I didn't see that until I wrote really, really, really took my time with writing my first, thuggish book. And I was like, oh, where did this come from? What side of Shy Soul did this pop up at? So that's another question. Now that's a question I want to ask you. Like, how many sides of a writer do you think you are? Like, I know a lot of authors talk to their characters. Don't think we're crazy people. We're not. How many characters do you get to talk to in your books?
I would say, okay, so I would say as far as characters, of course, the biggest part of you is the two main characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have, the female mind, and then, we all got that guy somewhere in the back of our mind, either how we want him to be, or, we encountered them at some point in our life. Then you have the funny character. Then you have the voice of reason. I feel like a lot of them kind of play in my mind, especially during the beginning of the book as I'm putting it together. That's when I kind of see the most. That's how I position my characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, as far as how many are up there somewhere, probably I base my book off at least 5 or 6. So it's always, and they all have an important role, and I would say they all come from a special part of me. I'll say that. So, or someone I know, I'll say that.
That's true.
No, yeah, and as far as the stories I have to tell, I would say it depends, honestly. It depends on a lot of things. It could be what's going on either in the world or something I was dealing with personally. Like my book, Before the Streets You Were My Baby. I wrote that book around the time. Who was it? Philando. He was the guy that was shot in the car with his girlfriend and their child.
Mm-hmm.
I was so mad when that happened. I was so mad. And I just started writing the book. I'm not sure if you read that one. It was about the guy, Cairo. His older brother was killed, and basically the story talks about life after that. So when I wrote that book, I was so mad. The first couple of chapters, literally, I was crying while I was writing those chapters. Certain things like that, that's something that I take personally, because I have 5 brothers. So I feel like when things like this happen, this could be one of them. They have a whole life ahead of them. You don't know what they're going to encounter. I can't be everywhere with every single one of them. So it's kind of I incorporate things like this into what I write as well.
Mm-hmm. See, and you answered my next question. I was going to ask, any book you've written, have you cried? Because I know I have. You answered my question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That one and Love in the Hood is Him. The third one when, I don't want to spoil it, but when one of the characters died, when I wrote that scene, I was just wow, why am I crying? Why am I crying? This is not real. But yes, I have.
The reason you're saying it's not real, because it's like, it's more so real to you because you created these characters, you created this scene, and you created all the emotions. Yep. So that's how I feel. I'd be like, if I'm writing a scene, that emotion, I'd be like, you better not cry. And then I just feel the emotions and I get all just, eyes just running. I'm like, oh my gosh, some dust and flew in my eye tonight. Let me try and get it. You know, that's how I be feeling. When I wrote, I think it might have been like my 5th book I wrote. And I got to, I think it was probably chapter 14 or something like that. When I got to that chapter, I had already put this female character through so much already. So, in my mind, the good side of me, you know, because when I write, I'm just drama-filled. That's all to it. So, when I wrote that chapter, I was like, wow, you already put her through enough. And then, when I described what happened to her, that's when all the emotions from writing every chapter leading up to this, that's when I started crying. Because I was like, this can honestly actually happen to a real young lady, older woman in real life. So me going that deep inside of me with emotions and everything like that, I was like, wow, I can't believe I actually finished the book with all the turmoil I didn't put this character through, you know, and then she overcomes it and whatnot. But I was like, wow, can I write another book like this? After I like evaluated everything, I was like, I sure can, because that's going to help any of my readers who have actually went through what I wrote. They're going to be like maybe inspired, or you know what I'm saying? So
Right, exactly.
So do you feel that any of your stories may have, you know, inspired your readers or helped them through anything they've been through? You know, do you think your stories do that for your readers?
So I've actually gotten a few messages before. This was during my Wattpad days too, and it was so funny to me because I was like, what? What? So I had this one story. It was with Naeem and Camille. It was initially called I Just Wanna, and now it's The Fire We Make. And so with that book, basically the story part to that, the girl boss is someone from her past, and him, you know, basically working under him, it brings back old feelings, things like that, and she gets caught between him and this football player because it's like she wanted to run from her feelings from her past, and so she ran into this other guy's arms, and so she's caught between the two of them, and so she ends up getting pregnant, and you know, you don't really know who the father is. So I had a reader send me a long message, you know, and I was like, what is this? So, and now mind you, at this time I was probably like maybe 17, 18, so I was surprised. So she was just like, she told me that basically she was in a similar situation. But the thing was, it was her birthday, she went to Vegas, I believe she said, and it happened. And she had a boyfriend back home. So of all things to relate to, that was that. And I was just like, wow. But at the same time, it was positive feedback. You know, she just let me know I'm writing things that people can relate to. And they may be dealing with that situation, but based on what I'm writing, it's helping getting them through it. So when I saw that was for me, that was kind of like, okay, yep, I got to keep doing this. Like, just to know that I could, this is something that's coming from my imagination. And like you said, people, this can actually happen to somebody or has happened to somebody.
Right.
So.
Right. That would have probably, now reading that, if I'd have wrote something of that nature, reading that, I probably would have cried and been like, you know what? I need to keep writing stories like this, because if that's one reader who attaches to that, how many more can I reach, you know, and probably help them with depression or anything like that. And I've had that.
Right.
Like, I don't really want to tell, because, me and you both don't want to tell what stories we may have coming out, next year, this year, and next month. So it's a story that will be coming out soon for me. It's a story I had on Wattpad as well. And a few readers, they was like, this story, it really helped with my depression. It really helped me speak out and, get over what I was feeling for this guy or a friend of mine. Anything like that. They was like, it really helped me with that. And when they said it made me cry, I was like, that's not what I was trying to do. I don't really think it made for them, because it might have been something I wrote that they relived. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah. So, I think it was a scene where I think the guy may have killed somebody. And the girl, she wrote me a long email and was like, I can't believe he did that, because I went through that with one of my family members and it happened like months ago. So she said, for you to write that detail for detail, and I actually went through that, I said, wow. I did not expect that to come from a reader. I'm thinking I'm actually, probably making up something. No. A reader or anybody else went through that. I was like, wow. My mind is something wild.
Right, exactly. It kind of gives you that confirmation, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it did for me, because ultimately, like I said, I started off as a reader first, of course. And what do we read for? A distraction, an escape, to be entertained. And so that's the same thing I'm reading is the type of writer I want to be. Like, the way I feel while reading this book, that's how I want my readers to feel. Like, I'm the type of reader, I do get emotionally invested. So that's probably why I get emotionally invested as a writer. Like, I'm fussing, cussing, crying, why is this happening? And that's the reaction I go for. So during those Wattpad days, like when I got that message, I'm like, okay, so this is the mission, and it seems like I'm accomplishing it.
Yeah.
From that point, I just wanted to build from there.
Exactly. Now, my question is, do you ever feel like, when you're writing some scenes, do you ever feel like maybe my mind is going a little bit too dark for what I'm about to write? You may have to ease up or, maybe take a step back or trying to tone it down a little bit. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't say it's about going too dark, because some messages need to be heard or need to be made, but at the same time, people are too sensitive nowadays. I'll say that. So sometimes I do have that moment, like, maybe I shouldn't say that, maybe I shouldn't touch on that too much, but I don't ever, like, I haven't had that moment, like, whoa, what am I writing? But I would say, like, with the book Cairo, Before the Streets Were My Baby, I would say that was probably the darkest book, emotion-wise, because of the situation that happened, and because I was in my feelings writing it, so it was kind of dark versus what I normally would write. But as far as, and I do have a book plan, I would say, that it is a little dark to it as well, like the background story of it, but I haven't written it yet, so I haven't, crossed that line where, like, maybe that is too much, So, yeah, so that one I'm kind of juggling. I would say, to date, I wouldn't say it was Cairo, where I kind of had those moments like, I know people go, like, are they going to read this? Because it's so sad, and it's so, like, I would say it's raw, I would say. So, like I said, it's a sensitive time, but I don't think I ever got to the point where I feel like, I may be crossing the line.
Yes. Now, when I have gotten to that point, too, and I always think about the book that they turned into the movie Precious. Now, my mom, she read that, and I'll say this. My mom has given me books to read, to further my development in different writing parts and different writing styles. That's why I like writing so many different stories. So, she gave me a book called Boy Lost. When I read that book, I said, this is the most darkest story I have read. And after that, I didn't read a story like that in like a long time. So when I wrote a story and I totally forgot about that story that I read, I was like, wait a minute, where is my mind going to? I've never experienced this. I may have seen it on Lifetime, ID channel, all those crime show stuff, but I've never been through it, never lived it, but I'm writing it. What made me go that dark? The moment I got to that point, I said, oh no. I said, I need to go to my mom and read her this. And I read it to her. And the moment I seen her eyes get red and she started crying, I said, wow. So I hit a breaking point with that story. And I was like, Mom, should I tone this down? Should I cut this chapter? Or should I keep it? She just looked at me and said, how the hell? She said it just like that. How the hell did you write this? Right. She was like, where did this come from? I said, Mom, I don't know. Maybe I was like, so well into the story. Maybe it was the research that I looked up. I don't know. Right. She said, don't delete it. Don't change anything. Keep it. She said, you need to keep that because it's going to be young girls, young boys, older women. Everyone is going to want to read that one chapter. And that's going to be a book that's going to be like, you need to read Shy Soul's book because of this. Right? And I was like, okay. When I got that approval, I was like, okay. But I still felt like, whoa, I went into a dark spot when I was reading this. Let me come out of my room, maybe, and be around my mom like that. Because where the heck did that come from? You get what I'm saying? So, yeah. So, with certain stories, like you said, with certain spots and certain stories, I try to, keep it realistic as possible. But don't go, like, too sad or too deep into it, So,
right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta keep it PG.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you are so real in your books, too. Sometimes maybe slightly a little raw because, that's what life is. But not too much where you're going to feel like, ooh, I don't know if I want to publish this because where did that side come of me? Now, what I want to ask is, when you got published, did you go finding a publisher or did a publisher find you?
No, so one publisher, Talia, she actually found me. So she found me on Wattpad. She messaged me, and this was around the time where it's like I was getting a lot of messages, so I wasn't really checking them like I should have. So I came across hers and I opened it. And I saw, like she was saying, she was starting a company and she wanted to sign me. I'm like, is this for real? Like,
right.
Because when you have a mom like mine, where she's like, oh, that's a scam, or da-da-da-da, or look it up.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I did, I searched her name and I saw her books, and I'm like, oh, snap, like, this is for real. So I responded to her. We got on the phone. She was basically breaking everything down to me. And I was like, so I'm really about to, like, publish a book. Like, I'm going from just writing books on the internet to actually publishing a book.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, she found me, and it just went from there.
Right. Now, with me, same thing. I was getting a lot of messages. And I actually got in contact with publishers. But the thing was, the publishers had already knew about me. And I was like, huh? They was like, we didn't get a chance to, yeah, they was like, we didn't get a chance to, message you yet because, we was getting so many responses and everything like that. But we have recently seen this book that I had on Wattpad that, got a lot of feedback and everything like that. And she said, we've seen that book. And believe me, I read the whole book in a week. And I was like, really? And she was like, yes. And she's like, for you to submit this book, she was like, I definitely want to publish this book. And that's my publisher now. When she said that she had seen my writing and expressed that since I have so many different genres that I can write and she published different genres, I was like, I found my publisher. I found my home, and I was like so happy that I can be able to do different genres and not just stick in one. Because I'm the type of writer, and I want to ask you that too. I'm the type of writer that writes multiple stories at once. I could be writing 3 books at a time.
Ooh, I wish.
Yeah. You've tried it.
Yes, I have. I've tried it. But it's like, with me, I feel like, who said this? Okay, so when I first started writing, I did, like, that's when I was trying to do the multiple books, and I realized I was in over my head, and then it was Cold Heart. He had made a post about, working on one book at a time, and it's kind of like I stuck with that, because I saw that wasn't something that was for me. The vision comes out better when I just put my focus in one thing. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like if I'm taking my attention and separating it into 2 or 3 different books, then I'm not really giving this book my all. If that makes sense.
Right.
So for me, it's like I have a one-track mind. And so I recently tried to pick it up again with doing more than one book. But I find myself calling this character that character's name, so I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind, we're just going to stick to one book for right now.
Yeah, that's what my publisher said. She said, when you write your books, I was like, I write like 2 books or 3 at a time. And she said, you don't get writer's block or confused. I was like, no. I recently, now my question is, have you ever gotten writer's block in like a couple of months of writing, of last year? Have you ever had writer's block, period?
All the time. Like, one week I'll just be flowing, or even one day, and then the next day I'm like, okay, where is this going to go? Because at some point, when I started off writing, I was free writing. Mm-hmm. And then I got in the habit of, like, outlining. Like, I saw authors like Mercy B. She had the classes for outlining, things like that. And then some of my pen sisters, they were outlining. So it's kind of like, okay, this format works out better for me. So during that transition, especially, like, going from free writing to outlining, then now I find my balance of doing both. I would say the writer's block was really bad when I was trying to transition. Like, I'm talking, okay, I'll try this again tomorrow, to, 2 weeks and I haven't written anything. So it's gotten really bad. But I'm starting to learn how to get over that. Like, if I get writer's block now, I'll watch a movie or I'll read a book, just to give me some insight. Because, like my publisher says, study the charts. So if I can't write, I'm reading something. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. So that helps me get over it as well.
Now with me, I had a bad case of writer's block last year. And I hadn't had writer's block since I was writing on Wattpad. And that's me developing stories, trying to come up with so many different stories to, get my writing better, or, try to get on the charts or whatever, because I was very determined. And I hadn't had writer's block for years. Got writer's block, almost nearly wanted to cry because I had a deadline for my book, and I was like, I cannot believe I'm getting writer's block now. Why on earth would my mind do this to me, And I was so frustrated. And I wrote a slight outline. I'm the type of writer that I free write because I've been doing that for so long. I've tried writing an outline, and it never works. I could write a full outline for all my chapters, and all them chapters, except for chapter 1, 2, and 3, won't change. I can't never stick to my outline. So I tried it. I couldn't stick to the outline. It just wasn't working. So when I called my publisher, I was like, I'm having a real case of bad writer's block. She was like, why don't you talk the book out? The moment she said that, I just got to talking about the book, what's going to happen, and everything. And she said, everything you said is perfect. She said, the reason you're stuck is because this story is different for you. You've never written a story like this. She said, everything you just told me makes me really want to read the story, and will make any other reader or anybody else read the story. So this is what you need to do. She told me from step to step what to do. And then that night, I finally got like 5 or 6 chapters done in one night. I was like, thank God. Yeah, I'm the type of writer where when I'm really into my story, I kind of trained myself like that. When I'm really into my story, I'm going to keep writing until I may get a little tired or want to stop and do something else. But I'm also that writer where when I finish a book, I take a break. Maybe I give myself a few days, but then after that few days, I get in the urge to want to get on my keyboard because I miss writing because I'm so passionate about it and my mind is so like fast tracked and overactive. I have a very overactive imagination. So like if I'm not writing, I'm thinking about writing. I'm thinking about, ooh, what can I do with that chapter with such and such? Oh my God, I have a new chapter. I need to go write this down in my notebook. Yep.
That's how I am. Like that, literally exactly how you said. I think it's a Wattpad thing because when I was on Wattpad, I didn't go a day without writing. Literally, like I'm in class. You know, you can't really have your phone in school. I'm in class thinking on the phone to write.
That was me.
That's how I was. That's how bad it was. And it's like now, you know, I work a full-time job, so literally every day I'm taking this notebook with me. I write from my phone also because I feel like something can hit me at any given time. Like you said, if I'm not writing, I'm thinking about writing.
Exactly.
That's exactly how it is for me.
You don't know how many times I got in trouble at school for trying to sneak on my phone. And I'm like to my teacher, this was funny, had the whole class laughing because the whole class knows that I write, you know, because they may have, some of them had already read my book on Wattpad or anything like that. After, 3 years of me wanting to actually tell that, I write books. Because I was writing, some little stuff was explicit, so I want to keep it a secret, But I was like, when I got 17, 18, I was like, why not just tell that I write books? So what? Oh, well, I like doing it. I got how many readers reading it? Go ahead, read it. So I was actually in math class. Now, this is so opposite of English. I'm on the phone typing away, and my teacher, she's like, excuse me, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm writing a chapter for my new book that's on Wattpad. She said, huh? Excuse me? She said, no, you're not. You're over there texting somebody. I said, no. I said, if you want to read it right now, you can, right? I stood up. I said, do I have the permission? Because you don't. I said, if you're going to take the phone, you're going to see it here, right? Everybody was dying because she read it in front of the whole class. And she said,
out loud?
Out loud. It wasn't nothing explicit or nothing like that. She read it out loud. And the whole class, I think this was like probably a little bit towards the end of our first semester. So, we got a little free time sometimes, but we were supposed to be studying. I had already studied before I got to that class, was study hall or whatever. And she read it out loud. The whole class was like, who the heck knew that she could write that good? And one of my friends was like, I did or whatever. That was the funniest thing ever. She was like, I'd like to speak to you after class, right? She was like, now, I did not know you can write this well. She was like, where can I get this book? I was like, okay, other than this chapter, I'm sorry, Miss Such and Such, but you can't read nothing after that. Just out of respect.
Right. We gotta draw a line somewhere.
Right, just out of respect. Because I don't want you to look at me another way when I come in class. Just being honest with you. She was like, this is very great. And then after that, somebody nominated a story that I had in my writing class that I wrote specifically for my writing class, and it got in our school book or whatever. I was like, these people, this is why I didn't want to tell nobody. They want to just go off the limb and start doing stuff I didn't ask y'all to do. So yeah, that's my passion for writing. Deeply for it. So for our last few minutes, I want to talk about what is your process for writing? I have a process too. It's so funny.
Okay, my process, because it's so random, anything can pop up in my mind, it could be a name, and I'm like, ooh, I should write about this. Or I could be writing something, and I'm like, hey, this will make it, reading something, I'm sorry, it could be a story, an article, or I could even be watching something on TV, and, oh, this is a good idea for a story, or, how many notes I have. It's ridiculous. But my actual process, like, started fresh. What I typically start to do, have to do, I don't want to say the title first, at least the concept. So I do concept, storyline, point of view, setting, and then I do my character development first. Mm-hmm. So I find, like, my character inspiration, do the description, the characteristics I want them to have. Basically, are they going to be the rude one, the shy one, blah, blah, blah. And then once I have the breakdown of who they are, I come up with their background stories. And then based off whatever concept I go with or whatever the storyline is, that's when I start to do the outline. Now, when I first started outlining, I would do it for the whole book. But the way I write now, like I said, I kind of found a balance between it, where I would do like a high-level outline. Mm-hmm. As long as I know the ending of my book, I know how I want it to go. But once I actually sit down and write it, majority of it is free writing. Like, the outline for me is just like a guideline of what I want to have, like what I want each chapter to be about. So once I do that, and the biggest thing is the word count. Now, I've always been the type of author where I don't really write for the word count. I write more so to tell the story. So, like, when, how you see the word count challenges and stuff on Facebook, I'm like, I wish I could participate, but I know I would be lying because it's like, I can't write for a number. I write for the story. Mm-hmm. But I try to set, like, at least a borderline, okay, like, this can't be more than 60,000 words, or this can't be more than 70,000. And then I just go from there. And the rest is just free writing and, I'm stuck. Let me try to outline this out. And then I basically go back and forth with that until I finish the book.
That's a great plan. I have tried to do exactly what you said so much, but it's like I'm organized, but then again I'm disorganized. What I do is it can be a different story. It changes every time for me. But the same thing is I come up with my title first and I come up with my description first because I love coming up with my titles and my descriptions so much. The second thing is I might end up writing the last chapter of the book, the ending. I might end up writing that first, or it could be the middle, the almost the end, or the beginning. It's depending on the story. Now, my characters, I already came up with my characters a long time ago. I already came up with their names and everything. I already came up with who's going to kill who. With me, my books are very, very, very drama-filled. So, with me, you already know, in Shy Soul's book, she's going to end up killing off somebody. Somebody's going to get got, basically. That's just...
Do you kill off, like, your main characters? Have you ever killed off the main characters?
And I cried about it. I did it once and never did it again. I did it one time. And I was like, oh my God, I was so attached to this character, right? But now, since, I've gotten out of that, now when it's a character that has so much development, or it's a character that maybe it needs to just happen, I just let it happen. I just let it happen. Like, hey, if the reader is going to be mad at me, I'm sorry in advance. It had to happen. Now, on to book 2. So you can see how he or she lived on or whatever. But if it's a character that I cannot stand, they getting got quick.
Right.
Sometimes I might let them live on to book 2 just to make my readers feel like, I can't believe she did that. She should have got shot a long time ago, stabbed, something, But yeah, that's how I write my books. And as for, like I said before, as of a storyline, I don't write a storyline. I don't even bother to do that anymore. I just write notes. I have like 5 or 7 notebooks in my room, and all of them have scattered notes from my book. If any other author picked up my notebook and said, let me see your storyline, I'd be like, okay, go ahead. You're not going to understand it. And I say that all the time. Like, you're not going to understand it at all. And that's just how it goes. Because it's like a roadmap of notes. Of a lovely story. But nobody's going to understand it except me. because that's how I wrote it.
Right. The author.
Yeah. Now, for the future references, I'm going to give you... Last year I was saying 10 years. Now I'm going to say 15. In 15 years, where do you see yourself as an author?
Ooh, that's a long time.
I know.
Let's see. I'll be about almost taking 40. So at that time, honestly, because long before then, to be completely honest, I want to be in the place where books are becoming movies or becoming TV shows, things like that. Like, I want to go from, because I feel like for each stage of writing, like I said, I started off elementary school poems, songs, and then it went to books. I want to go from not just writing books, having my books on the screen, and also writing movies and things like that as well. So that's something I would say by that time for sure. I would want to branch out with my writing a bit more, and also I definitely want to have my own publishing company as well. So that's where I would probably say see myself.
Ooh, now that's lovely. Now, I haven't had not one author on the show say that they want to start their own publishing company, you know, when they get to that stage. So, I love it. Because I can already tell that you're going to be a great publisher. Because, you know, of all the books you've written, I mean, of course you are. Now, here's the time where you get to shout out your books. You get to shout out anybody you love to. And, of course, get to shout out your social media so all the new readers that will listen to this and have listened to this can follow you. Now's your time.
Okay, so first, of course, I have to shout out to Leah Presents, of course. I also want to shout out Daijah Shine, whose book just came out, Tasha's Got a Baby. She has a event coming up next month, February the 23rd, I believe. Yeah, it's the 23rd. It's the Miami Book Expo, which I will also be there as well as other lovely authors. And be on the lookout for my next book. It's called Love in the Overlock Lagoon. The plan is to have it ready for February. I put myself on the challenge, so that's definitely coming soon, no later than March. And lastly, my social media on Instagram, pick up the pen, author Daijah Shine on Facebook. Wattpad, I'm still active somewhat, expression_XO. Twitter, Day, the author. And lastly, my readers group, Daydreamers Reading Group on Facebook.
Love it. I will definitely note this in everything when I share it. I love you. She loves you. I'm so glad to have you on the show. I will definitely be having you on again because you're going to have a lot of great stories coming. And that will be more book discussions that your readers would love.
I can't wait. This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
This was a lot of fun.
I'm glad the nervousness went away because the nerves just has to go when you're talking about something you love.
Right, exactly. So I love this, and I can't wait to do it again.
Me either. I love you guys. Good night.